This video is going to be my reaction to the Seahawks 30-18 win over the Cardinals in Week 14. I was finally able to sit down and record this. Seattle has now put together a 4-game winning streak, just finished off a sweep over the Arizona Cardinals, courtesy of two first-half interceptions, the continued brilliance, high-level efficiency of Jackson Smith-Njigba, and then a career-high 134 yards rushing from Zach Charbonnet. They pulled out the 30-18 win on the road. They're now 5-1 on the road in 2024. In fact, I thought the offense looked a lot smoother, more intentional, meaning some designed plays to attack specific parts or locations of Arizona's defense. Look, they produced over 400 yards of offense for the first time since, I believe, Week 9. Only the third time in 2024, in fact, that Seattle's offense has exceeded 400 yards of offense. It's also the first time they've done so without a turnover. I thought that was huge for the game flow with the quality of defense that Seattle's already playing. Offensively, coming in on a 3-game win streak, still Seattle was only producing just over 277 yards of offense. This is a drastic switch. They exceeded that number by 130 yards. Went 7 of 10 on third downs, averaged 6.7 yards per play. That is 1.3 yards above their average for the season, which is 5.4. We'll let some stats flow through here. We'll talk about Seattle's defense for a moment. They got those early interceptions from Ernest Jones IV and Kobe Bryant after giving up a touchdown on the first drive that the Cardinals kind of made look easy. Eventually, Seattle was able to parlay those 2 interceptions into the 19-yard touchdown from Geno Smith to JSN, and then a 1-yard touchdown run by Charbonnet on another short field to really erase and obliterate that early deficit and go up 17-7. Late in the second quarter, some of Seattle's intentional or designed plays was kind of revealed. Charbonnet busted loose on that 51-yard touchdown run. I think it's the preferred concept that Seattle came into the game to use. I'm not sure why. I don't pretend to know exactly that Arizona's having trouble with a lot of counter concepts, but that counter scheme where the guard and tackle from the backside are pulling, Charbonnet and Kenny McIntosh took advantage. I think they ran it at least 6 times today, and in my opinion, it really shredded Arizona's defense. I don't have the yards per play on that particular concept. That, to me, was the biggest. Well, let me put it this way. This is the largest positive differential in rushing output in 2024. For Seattle. And what I mean by that is they outrushed the Cardinals 176 to 121 today, so plus 75 rushing differential. Otherwise, you'd have to go all the way back to Week 1, their win over the Broncos at home. You were plus 47. And then 2 weeks later, the home win over the Dolphins at plus 35 to get to 3-0. Now, here we are, Week 14. Seattle is back to 3 games over 500. Once again, they're at 8-5 at this point. Host a Packers team next week that's going to be hungry for a win. I believe they'll come in off of 9 or 10 days rest, depending on how you count it. It's going to be a huge test for this defense, one that's playing extremely well, fast. I like to say Mike McDonald's defenses play downhill, and I don't just mean they're playing zone defense and coming downhill to make tackles, quote, keeping everything in front. That is the case sometimes, but I think they're up to the task. Look, Seattle is allowing 15.5 points per game in their 4-game win streak. And the important thing to keep in mind for me is that you have a lot of guys making an impact. It's not just Leonard Williams, who I guess kind of slowed down this week. He didn't have a pick 6. He didn't have multiple sacks, quarterback hits. He only managed 7 tackles, 2 TFLs, and 1 pass defense at the line of scrimmage. This week, it was other guys with the impact plays, with the splash plays. Ernest Jones, the early interception on a ball that I think Kyler Murray just really threw directly over the middle to him. Kobe Bryant got his 3rd interception of the year. And even though Arizona did generate 121 yards of rushing, that does look good, 52 of that came on 3 carries. The other 20 carries for the Cardinals generated 69 yards. Now, I understand the same thing kind of applies to Seattle's run game from a statistical standpoint. If you were to remove Charbonnet's 51-yard touchdown run, that the attempts to yards produced looks different. But I thought the counterplay gave Seattle a key to unlock some of Arizona's unique defensive fronts and also alleviate pressure on Geno Smith, meaning he didn't have to execute on every single snap. Geno Smith didn't have to get something done individually with a read or navigating pressure, moving outside the pocket. Because that counter scheme, I thought, was able to generate consistent running lanes for Charbonnet and McIntosh, I think it helped him become more efficient. He was 24 of 30 passing with the one touchdown. The beautiful throw to JSN on a smash concept after Ernest Jones' interception late in the first quarter. Smith hasn't thrown for as many yards in the 4-game win streak. Is that a strategic move? Is it intentional, but basically by Seattle's offensive coaches? Are they trying to improve the rushing output? I think they have to recognize at this point, with the defense surging, if you can get anything plus 85, maybe 90, out of the rushing attack organically, then, and don't turn the football over, you got a winning formula. If you ask me, either way, no matter how you want to look at it or describe it, the combination of the run game and the efficiency of Geno Smith allowed the Seahawks to control time of possession to a ratio of 33-27. They finished off their 3rd division win of the year. Now the Rams are right there on their heels. Rams are 7-6. So next week's battle at home with the Packers will be huge because thereafter you've got games against the Vikings, Bears, and then the Rams rematch in the season finale, and that'll be on the road. How many wins do you think Seattle gets to? They're now sitting here at 8-5, 2 home games in a row before they go to Chicago for a Thursday night football game. I believe that is December 26th. For me, if they play defense like we've seen in this 4-game win streak, they can stay with anyone. They can compete with anyone. They're giving up, I believe, 91, just over 91 rushing yards per game in the last 5 weeks. So dating this back to the home loss to the Rams in Week 9, giving up just over 91 rushing yards per game. Recall that 4 or 5 week stretch in the middle of the season where the rushing defense was really porous, particularly against 11 personnel. I really don't think that issue's solved just by Byron Murphy II being healthy, just by him being available here and playing. Because there was the 2 games upon his return against the Falcons and the Bills where they still gave up a ton of rushing yards. I think 174 and 155 in consecutive weeks. But they've definitely righted the ship during that time period. Basically after the Bills game, Ernest Jones IV's first game in Seattle, they get beat 31-10 by Buffalo, and they turn things around quickly thereafter. This is a collision next week against the Packers. Josh Jacobs, a legit talent. I think that Green Bay has a very good run-blocking offensive line. I do not share the same assessment of their pass pro at the offensive line position. Maybe it's because they look to throw the ball downfield so often. Their pass pro has some real areas of weakness, areas that you can attack, and I think Mike McDonald will. And here's where that comes from. I just watched the Lions on Thanksgiving Day use a bunch of third-string guys and in some cases practice squad players to hold them down in the first half, basically jump out to a 17-7 lead. Jordan Love was 3 of 7 passing for 31 yards in the first half, and the Lions were able to get ahead and then hold on and win. There's a number of pressures there by defensive linemen, outside linebackers whose names you've never heard of and I hardly even know myself. My point is, I think Seattle's got a great chance to get to 9-5 if they maintain anything close to this level of run production, which would help keep Geno Smith playing efficient and also error-free. He's got those 12 interceptions on the year, but today Seattle's offense scored on 4 of their 5 first possessions. Now 2 of them were obviously made a little bit more simple, the interceptions by Jones and Bryant that I mentioned earlier. Arizona was able to close to 17-10 in the second quarter. The teams had traded punts after Arizona got to 17-10, so the Cardinals actually got the ball back with a chance to tie in the second quarter. The teams traded punts. Seattle eventually takes over, 7-point lead on their own 20-yard line, a little bit less than 6 minutes left in the second quarter. For me, I looked at it, and because they were getting ball first to open the third quarter, they being Seattle, this seemed like an excellent opportunity to me to double up and really extend that lead out. And unfortunately, they scored in 5 plays. Kind of gave Arizona a chance to get back on the board, but Arizona didn't take advantage. So here's the 6th possession by the Seahawks, the one that I'm talking about. You can see at the top, they were up 17-10, a little bit less than 6 minutes left in the second quarter. End up in a 2nd and 20 because a 2nd and 10 run play by Charbonnet. I thought it was a big run. I thought it was like 13, 14 yards, but I could be wrong. It was out of 11 personnel. I didn't like the hold, and I thought I saw McDonald even make a weird face. To me, it looked like center right guard comboed a defensive tackle. I just didn't see a hold. I thought those guys comboed it well, but perhaps I'm thinking of a different play, number one, or maybe I didn't see it accurately. In any case, it pushed Seattle back to a 2nd and 20. DK was open underneath the zone for 15. He actually had another one-handed catch on the ensuing 3rd and 5 from the -24. It's the 4th play down from the top for you guys. That converted the first down, but there was a penalty pre-snap on the Seahawks created at 3rd and 10. And this one was beautiful by Geno Smith and by JSN. 3rd and 10 from the -20. So you think you're up 17-10. Possibly you're going to be able to double up, and now all of a sudden facing this 3rd and 10. If Arizona gets the ball back, maybe they could tie or get a field goal to finish off the half. Pressure by Arizona is brought. I think it's six-man rush. Maybe it's 5-man rush and one add-on with the back staying in to protect. But in any case, Geno had to kind of slide, I think, to his right and step up and throw the ball to JSN. It was a low throw because there was pressure, and so he kind of threw it off platform or off of his foundation. And JSN, great catch down low. He didn't have to slide to catch it. And that's one of the things that I actually did a video on JSN last week. If you guys are interested, I'll try to link it up here in a moment. When he catches the ball, generally, whether he's catching it and running in the same direction as before the ball was caught, or whether he's going to catch it and change directions, he's just got a great sense of the space around him, where the defenders are. That's a different skill that a lot of receivers, I don't want to say don't have, but they don't take advantage of it as much as him. Here on this 3rd and 10, it's a low throw. He catches it, and if memory serves, he catches it, kind of reverses course, and gets another 5 or 6 yards thereafter. Turns it into a 24-yard gain. Charbonnet with a little 5-yard run, and then the counter play. This is the 2nd and 5. I got it listed as the -49 out of 11 personnel. They were running this to the trips. They were running this away from the trips. I really like this concept. I definitely am going to do a video on it at some point this week because it allows them to run the ball out of passing formations, situations or formations pre-snap that they've presented all year that probably have a heavily skewed pass percentage, meaning the run-to-pass ratio is heavily weighted towards the pass. 2nd and 5, 51-yard run by Charbonnet up the middle. To my knowledge, they ran that concept, that counter scheme, at least 6 times on the day. Really gave Arizona trouble. I can't pretend to know exactly why right now. Arizona does play some unique defensive fronts, 5-1 looks. And in this case, it kind of looks like an option concept, but it's counter. And as long as the center can handle that backside D tackle, they don't have to block the backside D end, outside linebacker. Charbonnet was off and running on this one. Look, Seattle actually got the ball back late in the 2nd quarter there. After another stop, they stopped Arizona on 4 of their opening 6 possessions. But Seattle was unable to get anything done. You may recall that Seattle is near the 50-yard line. I think they're on the -48. And there's a 3rd and 6 pass from Geno. It's like a deep curl down the right side to DK Metcalf. It's incomplete. Sean Murphy Bunting is there from outside leverage. It looked like zone to me. Something about the timing of that play seemed off. That was a big moment for me because you're going to be in field goal range with a completion there with about 20 seconds left in the half. I don't know if Geno's throw was late. I don't know if DK's curl was deeper than it was supposed to be, or maybe the throw was too far to the outside. Maybe it was supposed to be further to the inside. Field goal range at that point, at minimum with 20 seconds left in the half, potentially could put you up 27-10. 30 minutes through. Instead, it only ends up being 24-10. And to that point, Seattle had 272 yards of offense. They actually were able to go up 27-10 in the 3rd quarter. About midway through, get a 36-yard field goal. About 5:50 left in the 3rd quarter. Geno had gone up top to Lockett on a 3rd down right before that field goal. It was a tight angle throw. A little bit hot. The ball had some fire on it. The coverage was pretty good. It was to the underneath side and inside. And I thought Geno's throw was put in a good place. To me, I didn't see where there was many other targets of Lockett. Even before that, I don't know that he did have one. I could be wrong. Feel free to correct me in the comment section. It would have been a great moment. And as the ball is arriving to Lockett, I thought to myself, I was like, that looks like it's a catchable ball. We could have a touchdown here. Really put some distance between them. Instead, they settle for the field goal and the 17-point edge. Cardinals got things going immediately thereafter. To that point, mid-3rd quarter, Trey McBride had been quiet. I believe he came in to the game 25 catches on his last 25 targets, including the huge game against Seattle's defense a couple of weeks ago. He had 2 on this particular drive. Once it ended up being 27-10. Murray eventually caps that possession with the little 5-yard shovel pass to Connor. Murray kind of also scampered in on a designed 2-point play up the left side, the top side of the TV screen to make it 27-18 quickly. That was a little ominous for me because it's a 17-point lead, and then all of a sudden you're only up 9. Seattle's offense actually then goes consecutive 3-and-outs, made it a little bit even more concerning. Smith had missed an open Noah Fant on a design play action pass early in the fourth quarter. I don't mean to say that it was a easy throw that should be completed 100% of the time, but it's a high percentage opportunity, if you ask me. It looks like a situation where Seattle has game planned or designed that against Arizona's defense. There was a linebacker or a safety underneath. So the lane wasn't clean. Geno couldn't just rip the throw in there on the line because the linebacker or defender, whatever position the guy is, was in the window. So it had to be somewhat of a lofted throw. I thought Geno put a little bit too much on it, ended up being like a yard or two overthrown. That resulted in a punt that goes out of bounds. A little bit less than 11 minutes left in the game. I think 10:50, 10:45. Murray takes them all the way down the field. And for me, at that moment, I was like, okay, Mike, and the defensive staff, let's get some answers here. Hold them out of field goal range. Don't let them get this into a 1-score game. Kobe Bryant had actually forced a fumble on Connor on the second play of the drive, I believe. It was a big run, but a Cardinals O-lineman recovered, and then McBride kind of got going. He had 2 catches on the drive. I think they had an underneath completion to 2 of the running backs. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are facing 3rd and 2. Down on the 21-yard line, still 27-18 to this point. And I thought this was the right move by Seattle. They brought a 5-man rush. So essentially the guards and tackles are one-on-one with the defensive linemen / outside linebackers. And I believe it was Byron Murphy against the right guard. Got pressure. It was the right call. Forced Murray to loft the throw, heave it up, essentially a prayer to Marvin Harrison Jr. He was lined up in the left slot against Witherspoon. Those guys were competing in the end zone. I was glad that they didn't gift Arizona a penalty there. To me, a lot of those situations in the NFL nowadays are almost assumed or gifted DPIs for the offense. To me, it looks like 2 guys competing. Witherspoon, I thought, kind of stood his ground, almost like a basketball player taking his charge. But I only did see one replay. I may be off. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section. I'm generally one who sides with the defense, so I recognize that it might just be A, my affinity for Devin Witherspoon as a football player, and B, my tendency to side with the defense that's skewing my perspective. So that 3rd and 2 goes incomplete, and Arizona, we were going to have an interesting last 7 minutes there. Arizona's got a 40-yard field goal to close within 1 score. Could have been a 27-21. Instead, Chad Ryland's 40-yarder smacks into the left upright. I breathed a little bit of a sigh of relief there. I don't know about you. Seahawks' 2-score lead was intact. They did try to rely on the run game to finish it up, but really got nothing going. You had 3 short runs ensued, either by Charbonnet or McIntosh, but Geno was clutch. On a 3rd and 2, he hits DK for 13 yards. I think it was against zone. 2 plays later, it's a 2nd and 10, finds JSN for 12. And eventually, once they crossed midfield, Charbonnet finally got the run game going a little bit. He burst through for a 10-yard gain on a 3rd and 2. I think it's a sweep, but I might be wrong there. You pretty much knew at that point it was over. They're in field goal range. It's already a 2-score game. Seattle played it smart, in my opinion, there. Running the ball 3 consecutive times to get down below the 2-minute warning. Jason Myers converts his 3rd field goal. This one was from 35 yards, makes it 30-18, the final margin. A couple things to note. Budda Baker had 18 tackles. I think that's notable. I don't always get a chance or motivation to do a video on an opposing team's player, whether it's someone that the Ravens, Lions, or the Seahawks are facing. But in this case, I'd like to if I get the chance later in the week. Defensively for Seattle, they're credited with 9 passes defense on 38 attempts by Murray. That's, I think, worth mentioning and doing a film study video about. Murray has 3 interceptions in the 2 games against Seattle's defense this year. Now, Jones and Bryant gathered 1 each today, but multiple guys are getting their hands on the ball when the ball's in the air, today at least. Multiple guys are credited with PDs. Woolen had one. Love had one. Bryant had one besides his pick. Leonard Williams had a pass deflected or knocked down at the line of scrimmage, I should say. Jones and Knight actually combined for 3 PDs. I think the coverage element, well, they've been playing well in that area for most of the year, don't get me wrong, but that seems to be tightening up even more. Basically dating back to their loss at home to the Rams in overtime when Matt Stafford's game-winning touchdown pass finds DeMarcus Robinson to beat Rick Woolen. Now the run defense has improved dramatically. Simultaneous or at the same moment, they've forced 6 turnovers in the 4-game win streak. So even without Kenneth Walker III, the formula is there. If the neat thing is, for today at least, the run game got going against a Cardinals defense that had not allowed 70 rushing yards, that had only allowed, 70 yards rushing per game on average the last 3 weeks, including only 65 yards by Seattle in the home win 2 weeks ago. If you date it back to 6 weeks, Arizona's defense hadn't given up more than 79 yards rushing only one time in the last 6 weeks. So for Seattle to go in there and get a lot done, again, totaling 176 on the ground, including 134 by Charbonnet, that's a huge improvement. The counter is a big factor. Definitely going to do a film study video on that concept, along with, like I said, the DBs getting their hands on the ball, 9 passes defense. It seemed like that counter play opened up like late downhill cuts for Charbonnet and McIntosh. Not cutbacks, but late downhill cuts off of that backside tackles block. Those two combined for 172 out of the 174. JSN had a 4-yard sweep on a 3rd and 5, didn't get the first down. Charbonnet, let's talk about him for a moment. He actually is credited with almost 200 yards of total offense today. Clearly a career high. It's 193 to be precise on 29 touches. I would love to do a video on him Tuesday night. I did put a One Play Wednesday video film study out on Charbonnet last week. If you want to check that out, I'll try to post it up. My final point, and this is a little bit anomalous. Seattle was 5-1 on the road in 2024. How much of that is matchups, meaning the schedule, the team that they're playing, when they're playing them, the improved defense? I don't know, but they do appear, in my opinion, to be swarming on defense right now. It's going to be easy to focus on the offense as well. We should. They have struggled for the most part in 2024, except for the first 4 weeks of the year. It looks like this defense, to me, looks like what we saw in Baltimore for 2 years. A defense that when they stop or at least slow down the run game and get you into those known passing situations, Mike Macdonald, they're going to attack the quarterback. They're going to attack the catch point. Dangerous passes flow from that. And oftentimes quarterbacks eschew those dangerous throwing lanes against zone and or match coverages, and so they just check down quickly. And I felt like that's what Kyler Murray did for parts of today's game. Essentially, if you don't know what the coverage is going to be post-snap as a quarterback and you're having trouble discerning it in the 2.5 or 2.8 seconds before you get rid of the ball, sometimes taking that underneath throw quickly is the better option because you're not risking another turnover. He had 2 in the first half today. They attack quarterbacks in Mike Macdonald's defense once they get them in known passing situations. I think that's one of the big things that's kind of missed about Mike Macdonald's defense. Yes, they're very multiple, versatile in pass coverage, oftentimes showing one look and playing another. Later on in the game, showing that same look, playing a second or a third different version of a different coverage out of it. But to me, it's more so about stopping or slowing down the run game first to create as many known passing situations as possible. And they have done that for the most part in the last 4 or 5 weeks. Today, even though Connor did end up with 90 yards, Seattle, I thought, generally was pretty good at stopping the run. Again, 20 of Arizona's carries totaled 69 yards on the ground. Appreciate you guys' time, man. If you enjoyed my reaction video, please let me know in the comment section. If you think there's any elements of the game that I missed or that I glossed over, feel free to let me know. The counter play for me is a big aspect of what went down today offensively for Seattle. It settled things. It gave Geno Smith something to go to consistently. I like combat sports analogies, so for me, I'm going to think of it a little bit like a jab, something that can establish or allow you to attack in another in another manner, the right cross, the left hook off of it. But in any case, this is my reaction video to Seattle's 30-18 win over the Cardinals. Their 4th win in a row, pushes them to 8-5, still only a 1-game lead in the division over the Rams, who they'll see in the regular season finale. If you think other Seahawks fans would enjoy my reaction to their 4th straight win, please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.